So at O'Neill's Tree Service, we get lots of calls concerning trees every year, and people ask us to assess their trees for risk. So I'm going to go over a little bit of how we would go about doing that. First, we identify the tree and its location. So in this case, we have a lead tree. That's the common name. And this tree has a species profile. So it'll tell you, you can look them up and see, is the tree the type of tree that is likely to survive a high wind event, etc., etc. And we look for targets. So if you look at this tree, obviously it's in an open area here, but there are some cars parked over here. A sign. There's people. Some people come back here and take breaks. This is a commercial building here behind us. And so we're looking at the things that it could hit. It obviously can't hit the building, but it could maybe hit some cars, or if there are people that happen to be here. We were reviewing the site conditions here, so what we were looking at is the site has not changed a whole lot. It's a commercial building. There's asphalt behind us, car parking. It doesn't look like any sort of changing ground situation as far as digging trenches or anything like that. Also, we look at how the tree looks. So we could use binoculars or mallets and probes, trowels to inspect the roots, but we kind of stand back from afar and kind of see, is the canopy looking full and thick? If we see any sort of canopy where there's no new growth coming on, or it looks dead at the top, that could be an indication that we have some declining root system and the tree is not functioning properly. So then we also look for any expected load changes. Like back here, we have some roots kind of popping out of the ground. If there was a lot of water built up back here, maybe this could cause these roots to become looser and change the way the load is held by the roots. Also, you can see the tree is leaning currently to the east. Because of the lean to the east, it may not be super stable in a wind. You can see the roots have pulled up. So then we look for conditions of concern. So we're looking for these dead branches here. We look for previous failures. It looks like a branch up here tore off and fell down. We're looking at if the tree is responding. So that would be here, where there's a previous pruning cut. We have some response growth here. We can see previous branches over here where there's some response. So it does look like the tree is responding, maybe not that quickly looking at this. As we would like to see, there is some rather large dead branches here as well, so we would want to make sure that we would clear these out so they can't fall on people. So then we might consider that maybe there's more assessment needed. And that would be considered an advanced assessment. Right now, we're just doing a basic assessment. So an advanced assessment might include climbing in the canopy or excavating roots to see what's going on. Do we have decay? Is there something that we should be more worried about? So in a basic assessment, it's mostly visual, a little bit of mallets and stuff like that. But if you get into advanced, you sometimes also then are doing resistographs, which you're measuring for wood density, or sonic tomography, climbing the tree, assessing roots, and that's considered advanced. And so we may recommend that depending on the tree. In this case, this is an invasive species, so most people probably wouldn't go through the effort for that to try to save this tree. A lot of times advanced is for when people really want to keep a tree rather than maybe deciding to cut it down if there's any question. So the next thing we look for is we look at all the data. We have all this stuff written down. We go through a whole form. And we analyze, what is the likelihood of failure? What is the likelihood of impact? And what are the consequences of those should the tree fall? And then we come up with an idea of the amount of risk that someone is taking with a tree. There is a way to mitigate those things. For example, we could move these cars or move this dumpster area behind us and put a fence around here if we wanted to make it so this tree could just fall apart naturally and not hurt anything. So there we've kind of limited the target. So really, how much risk is there if it can't hit anything? very little. That said, if we couldn't move these things and they were fixed targets, then we would have a problem. We may decide this is a high-risk tree and it's too much danger for people and structures or whatever underneath, and the decision may be to remove that tree. But once again, the decision is always up to the tree owner to make that decision of how much risk they're willing to take. Some of us like to skydive and some of us don't. So it's always up to the tree owner to decide that amount of risk they would like. We may, depending on how the customer would like it, if they want us to submit a report for insurance purposes or whatnot, we may be able to write them up a report. This is something we do a little additional. Sometimes risk assessments are just verbal, but they may ask for them to be in writing. So if we put it in writing, you'd submit this document or this report, and you could use it for insurance purposes. And on there, we may have reinspection intervals if we think that the tree is going to continue to maybe have a lot of risk afterwards. Maybe if you do the mitigation that reduces that risk, we want to have inspection periods to keep up on it at that point. So anyway, this is how we kind of assess a tree for risk. Obviously, it was very brief, and it's a lot more to it than that, but I was trying to make as much as I could a condensed version. You can reach out to us for more information on exactly how to do that. There are several publications from the International Society of Arboriculture that talk about tree risk assessment and that methodology used to do it. Have a nice day.